What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Professor Anime coming back at you with another video. Okay, so in this video today, guys, I am here to bring you a review of episode 6 of Boku dake ga Inai Machi, otherwise known as Erased. So let's get it started. So what happened in this episode? Well, really what happened in general was when episode 5 left off, we see that Ayuri's house ends up getting on fire and she is most likely about to die, but obviously she wouldn't be killed off this early in the episode because come to find out in episode 6 we see that Satoru ends up going into her house and rescues her. However, the thing is though, if Satoru ends up coming outside with Ayuri in his hands, despite his heroics, if he ends up going out in the public, people are going to suspect him for the attempted murder of Ayuri. So he cannot, he really can't get out of the house either. Now, that is when eventually the manager of the workplace that Satoru and Ayuri work for, he ends up coming up into the house and then ends up rescuing Ayuri herself and ends up taking up all the credit while Satoru ends up going out in the back and escapes. A couple of other minor things also happen in this episode. We get to see Sawada actually make an appearance where apparently, Sawada had connections with Satoru's mom back in the past, and Satoru and Sawada end up meeting for the first time and end up conversing as adults. And the first thing Sawada ends up saying to Satoru was, just so you know, I didn't kill your mother, okay? Just so you know. I was like, what are you insinuating here, dude? Are you saying that you actually did end up killing the mother? I mean, what's going on here, man? I mean, he is very funny at first once we get to see him for the first time actually conversing dialogue with Satoru. And he does end up being quite suspicious right in the beginning because he also has red eyes, just as, the killers. However, we have actually gotten a few other characters within the Boku dake ga Inai Machi series who also have red eyes. Not just the killer, but there is also been some other characters, including Hinazuki's mother as well. But, yeah, as far as what we can guess from Sawada actually being the murderer, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that he is not the murderer, because while he does end up being suspicious right in the beginning as we meet him, he just doesn't seem that very likely to be the murderer. And then at the end of this episode, unfortunately, we get to see Satoru actually being caught and arrested by the police, and as he is heading into one of the cop cars, to put him in there so they can drive him down to the station, the background suddenly slows down. Everything is going really slow, and in that background, you get to see the murderer is standing right on the sidewalk watching the whole Satoru arrest be unraveled. And Satoru ends up seeing a blue butterfly pass by, and from what we have seen in other parts of when the blue butterfly pops up, it is when technically Satoru experiences a revival. So definitely in the next episode we are going to experience another revival where Satoru is going to jump back all the way back to his childhood, like I stated before, and this is going to be the major factor on how he is going to possibly change the timeline again. Now, the biggest thing that caught my eye was when Satoru was talking about the Grim Reaper. In that specific scene where we see Satoru talking to Ayuri, he says that he had an idea about the Grim Reaper of a manga that he wanted to end up creating, in which the Grim Reaper actually ends up killing a child. And because of the fact that it wasn't the right time for this child to die, the Grim Reaper tries to go back in time and fix the events on how this child ended up dying. But because upon doing this and altering the timeline, people who are involved within the child's life and his life as well end up suffering. And this is exactly what is happening in Satoru's life right now. This is definitely foreshadowing certain events that will end up happening in the later episodes of Boku dake ga Inai Machi, and also, you know, pretty much this stuff has already happened in past episodes of Boku dake ga Inai Machi, because the bottom line, when it comes down to it, you know, Satoru is doing this all for one specific person, one specific individual who never got to live a life that she wanted because she died so young. And Satoru is just trying to make the best of it. He is trying to, you know, change the timeline and try to prevent Kanazuki's death in order to experience a life that she never had. And, you know, upon doing this, he is putting other people's lives at risk, aka Airi almost dying in the fire, because if he didn't go in there and try to rescue her, or the manager didn't go there to try to actually bring Airi out, you know, Airi would have most likely have died. So he is definitely putting other people's lives at risk, and Satoru symbolizes the Grim Reaper, and also it makes me want to believe that Satoru could be the killer. Okay, either I am really getting down with the sickness, or I am just losing it. No pun intended. But hey, anybody in this anime series can be a potential suspect to the murder of Satoru's mother and also Hinazuki's death, because pretty much everybody who we have been introduced to in this anime is a potential killer, believe it or not. So, you know, it could end up being Kenya, it could end up being the teacher, who I personally have a high suspicion for, because the killer is in his, you know, late, 40s, I guess you would say, maybe late 30s, around that time. And also there is Satoru, who is pretty much the embodiment of the Grim Reaper at this point. You know, he has stated this in this episode at the very end, and, you know, for all we know, it might not be the Satoru that you are thinking. It's not the Satoru that we see now, but possibly a different representation of Satoru entirely, because of the effects that he has on time travel when he goes back into the past. He can probably go so far into the past to where he completely ends up changing the timeline, and now he is the killer in order to make Hinazuki's life completely safe. And for all we know, in the next episode, we could see Kenya actually having the ability to, you know, do revivals as well, because it has been speculated that two people could possibly be doing revivals in this anime. We have Satoru and Kenya, because from what we have gotten in previous episodes of Boku dake ga Inai Machi, Kenya has always been on the foreground, just watching, you know, Satoru very suspiciously, and someone has to be preventing Satoru from changing the timeline. Someone has to be, because Satoru is being framed for the murder of his mother and also the attempted murder of Airi. So someone has to be preventing Satoru from changing the timeline, and the only way to do this is to have another revival take place. So for all we know, maybe these two kids are gonna collide. Oh man, I really need to get to sleep. I don't know, I'm just coming up with so many theories. That about does it for this episode, guys. I really hope you enjoyed my review and my little banter, but yeah. That about does it for this episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let me also know if the suspicions that you had before in the previous episodes of Boku dake ga Inai Machi, have they changed at all? Do you have a different suspect that you think is the killer? Do you have a different Man, I really have to get to sleep now. That about does it for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below if the person that you have suspected as the killer, has he or she changed now in your mind? Do you have a different person who you believe the killer is? Let me know in the comments. And also, if you like this video, please give it a like. And if you want to stay up to date to my future content on this channel, please hit that red subscribe button below, and you'll never miss a video from me. That about does it for this video, guys, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Have a great day.